So that was number 1, the diameter,
Yes.
and number 2 was the direction,
Yes.
and number 3 was
The density of the hail.
the density of the hail.
Meaning
So
meaning the actual number of hailstones that fell, not the actual density of a specific hailstone. Let me elaborate on that. Is that one of the main things that we're looking for when we see the dents and the clean spots on these collateral indicators is we are trying to determine the size of the hail that hit the property. And the reason that is important is that because our typical scope is that we're there to look to see is the roof covering damaged by hail. So we've got research out the wazoo that basically tells us what size hailstones it takes to cause damage to, say, a 3-tab shingle or a dimensional, some folks call them an architectural style shingle, or even a modified bitumen low slope roof covering, a metal roof, just whatever it may be. We've got all that research. So one of the research papers that we have can basically help us estimate the size of the hailstone based on the size of the dents in the different metals. So if you've got a really thin metal, maybe it's a flue gas cover, which are typically really thin aluminum, that the hailstone strikes it, that dent could be as much as twice the size of the hailstone. Whereas if you've got one of these exhaust fan covers, metal ones on a roof, it's really thick metal. So the dent in it could be about half the size of the hailstone. So we're there trying to get an estimate of what size hail has hit this property so that we can relate that to what I termed as a threshold damage for the shingles. Because we know that the research shows us that it takes at least a 1-inch hailstone to damage a 3-tab shingle and 1 1/4 inch hailstone to damage a dimensional shingle. So by knowing the size of the hailstone helps us determine if what we're actually seeing on the roof is caused by hail or not. So then you throw the direction in there, is that all storms are directional. So I know in this part of the U.S. that typically our storms come from the southwest, not meaning it can't come from the northwest or the northeast, but as we're finding these collateral indicators and we see the collaterals are telling us that the hail came from the south and southwest, then once we get up on the roof, any hail damage that we may find on that roof covering should be on our south and west facing slopes, with very minimal or none on the north and east facing slopes. So this is what the collateral indicators help us determine, is that we're getting to that point where we can actually determine whether that roof covering is damaged or not.